Oh, man, it was the tale of two Garcias in the end for this one, a hero or a would-be hero, and a guy who, for tonight, will have to wear the moniker of a GOAT, and not the good kind of GOAT. Robert Garcia throws 8 straight balls in the 11th inning and walks the bases loaded. And that leads to an Astros walk-off victory. Not by walk this time. Hobie Milner came in, got an out, and gave up a single, and the Astros walk it off. 5-4 the final. It was a very, very tough ending to a game that was probably better than you feel right now. Right now, you feel like crap. You feel like this was one that absolutely got away because it was, and it was a game earlier that should you really have been an inspiration. It may be one of those things that we've talked about many times on the show as we welcome you to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. Jeff Wilson joins from Houston in a moment. I'm sure that's not a happy visitors clubhouse right now, but we've talked about the fact that the good teams find ways to win these games. And tonight, the Rangers did not find a way to win, despite some heroics, at least short term, from Adolis Garcia. Some heroics short term when the Rangers were down to their final out in the 9th inning. And Kyle Higashioka hits a home run that would have been out in only one ballpark in the major leagues. And luckily it is this one. It was Dacon Park or whatever they call it. And he got it out there, 347 feet and a 40-degree launch angle. And that one tied it up off a guy who has not blown a save in 26 chances this year. Those are the kinds of things, the Higgy homer, the Adolis Garcia, first pitch hit with that, that ghost runner on second base. Those are the kind of things that make this team can do it. But then something seems to derail this team. And in this case, I'm sure there's some things you can question Bruce Bochy about. Why do you send Robert Garcia back out there for his second inning of work? I know in these cases, the pitcher is asked, you got it? You good? You want to go? And you usually defer to the pitcher. You often defer to the pitcher there. But certainly Hobie Milner was put in a very difficult situation again, as he was at the beginning of the road trip when he entered the game in Anaheim with the bases loaded. And that was a tie ball game. This one, he enters. The Rangers were still up by 1. Sacrifices a sac fly, but that was actually a pretty good outcome for the Rangers with the bases loaded. But then, a guy who was pinch hitting comes up there and gets the job done as Zach Short, who pinch hit in the 9th, actually was able to slap one down the right field line and score the runs that allowed the Astros to win the game. So 5-4 the final. It's disappointing. It was the game that started with a pitching matchup for the ages, that being Jacob deGrom against Framber Valdez. And the Rangers had Valdez on the ropes in the first inning. They made him throw 21 pitches. They scored a run in the inning. They actually manufactured it as Sam Haggerty got on first base via a throwing error. And you'll take that, right? Get on base any way you can, especially for a guy like Sam Haggerty, who always is there to make things happen. Corey Seager flew out to left field, but then Marcus Semien had a single. And that sent Sam Haggerty all the way over to third base. He scores on a wild pitch, and then Adolis was hit by a pitch. So now you've got Semien at second. Ultimately, you got them to second and third, and unfortunately, you couldn't get any more out of that inning. That was very much a missed opportunity that appeared to be haunting the Rangers throughout the course of the game. You've got to get those runners in. It was great that Haggerty made something happen, but they needed more out of the bottom of the order. Really, it was the bottom half, not even the bottom third tonight. Through 9 innings, the bottom half, or really more than half, the bottom 5 hitters had 1 hit. There was 1 guy on base from the bottom 5 hitters in the Rangers lineup tonight. They just couldn't get any production. Now, part of that is the fact that Framber Valdez was on the mound. And Framber Valdez, as you know, is a known sinker ball guy. But he had the curveball really working tonight. And I think it was baffling a lot of Rangers hitters. Clearly it was, because they struck out 10 times against him. The Rangers struck out 18 times in the game. So if they had ended up winning this game, it would have been the first time a team has ever won with 18 strikeouts and no walks. They didn't end up winning the game, so that stat remains out there. But it was Jacob deGrom who basically made 2 mistakes in the game. Jacob missed his location on a fastball to Jose Altuve. That was in the first inning, Jonah was set up for an outside pitch, an outside fastball, it appeared, and he missed inside with it, and Altuve turned on it and sent it deep into the Crawford boxes. And then it was an interesting choice, discussed much on the broadcast, of a changeup that he threw to the right-hander, Yainer Diaz, and that came in the 4th inning, and right on right changeup, and Diaz just caught it, and it didn't. That changeup didn't sink much, and it was right in the hitting zone, and Diaz just caught it, and so at that point it was 2-1. And later in the game, and Jacob was already out of the game, but later in the game, Mauricio Dubon hit a solo home run. So the Astros have 3 on solo home runs. Meantime, the Rangers got their 1, as we mentioned, on a wild pitch, and then they got 2 solo home runs. Marcus Semien with a blast in the 8th inning, as they were able to get to that bullpen, Abreu in that case. And so that was good, because that bullpen is tough. And so they got to the bullpen there. And then, of course, we had the home run by Higgy off of Josh Hader. So there was much to like until the bottom of the 11th inning in this game. An exciting baseball game, a game that featured, really good pitching throughout. It's not like some of those games where you just go, how can they generate no offense? It was one of those games, because the Astros would be saying the same thing, right? Here's why you can't generate offense. It's Framber Valdez. The dude doesn't give you anything to hit. Everything is down. And if you do hit it, you're driving it into the ground. When he wasn't striking guys out, he was causing them to, basically hit balls into the dirt, and it was ground out. So if you get the ball in the air against Framber Valdez, you're going to do well. Getting the ball in the air is the tough part against Valdez, and the Rangers weren't able to do that much tonight at all. So as it was, though, they had a lead in the 11th inning. Adolis Garcia, again, we mentioned it, first pitch in that 11th inning. He comes in, and Adolis is able to drive Semien in. He was the ghost runner from having made the last out in the 10th inning. So Adolis comes in and does that, and he got to second base on the throw home, which was a waste of time. Semien was going to score on that shot to left field by Adolis, but so he's at second base, and then nobody could get him over, much less get him in at that point. Wyatt Langford grounds out to the third baseman. Jonah came up and struck out. Jonah struck out 3 times and grounded out twice tonight. And then Higgy in that 11th inning grounded out to the shortstop. So that's the point where you really needed production, right? You needed them to at least get Adolis Garcia over to third. And ideally, you needed to get him in. You needed that insurance run. As it was, the Rangers had the lead, which ultimately, as we said, they lost. Jeff joins us now. And Jeff, I imagine that was a disappointed clubhouse. This was one, I said it at the beginning, sort of the tale of 2 Garcias, with Adolis, playing the role of hero or would-be hero. And then, as it turns out, I suppose Robert has to wear the GOAT moniker for a minute.
Yeah, not the good one, John. The
No.
bad GOAT.
Yeah.
And you're right. It was really quiet in there, and there was so much that you could to unpack. From even going all the way back to the very first inning when the Rangers didn't get the more than one run home. They had the opportunity, runner at third and one out. Wyatt Langford and Jonah Heim didn't come through. And then you get the miracle home run. That only happens in this ballpark.
Yeah.
From Kyle Higashioka, and Josh Smith gets the second, and have Ezekiel Duran up there, and he you don't pitch it for him with Berger. Not sure Jake would have done any better based on the at bat in the 10th.
Right.
And you can wonder then. I know Evan Carter, you don't want him facing left-handers, but could he not have gotten down a bunt?
That's what I was saying.
Could Evan Carter have gotten a bunt down?
Yeah.
Maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. I don't know. I've never seen Evan Carter bunt. I'm sure he can. But, all right, so you survive. Garcia comes in, does a great job, right, in the 10th. Fabulous job.
He did.
And then Adolis, again, gets the hit to bring in the run, goes to second, heady base running. You got the same situation. It's nobody out, runner at second. All right. Now, where you are in the order always kind of dictates things. Wyatt Langford's not going to bunt. Jonah Heim's not going to bunt. Higashioka with 2 outs clearly isn't going to bunt. But you still got to lift the ball. You got to hit the ball to second base. You got to do something. And they didn't do it. And it came back to bite them. Because Robert Garcia, he hadn't gone more than an inning for a while. He pitched yesterday, but we talked to him after the game, and he was as dejected as they come. And he said, "I wanted to go back out." Bruce Bochy let him go back out because he didn't labor at all in the 10th.
Right.
It was a pretty quick inning, and you're facing the number 2 hitter. And he's given him, he's just easy walk. The next guy, Altuve's out of the game, right, for defensive substitution. Jose Altuve's out of the game, and you're throwing to a guy he's 0 for 2 in his major league career, not tonight, in his career, and you walk him. He's trying to bunt. He's giving himself up. You walk him, and really, the leadoff walk was costly.
Yes,
that changes everything. But you still have a chance, even if this Corona guy gets a bunt down. Second, third, 1 out. You got 1 out, and the sacrifice fly ties it. Okay, you're still alive, but then you got to figure out how to get 1 more out instead of Hobie Milner having to navigate 2 outs. And a lot of people on Twitter have asked why was Garcia in the game. Bruce Bochy made a mistake. They didn't have Sean Armstrong available. Jake Ladd still isn't available. So you had Caleb Bosley left. And he was the long guy. Milner was the last guy. Did I say Sean Armstrong wasn't available? He wasn't.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? And so that was a tough spot. And another one that's rankled some people is the Tony Beasley holding Corey Seager.
I haven't mentioned that one yet. Yeah.
And, we have a pretty good view of it from the press box, and I think Corey would have been thrown out. And I know Altuve doesn't have a big arm out there in left field, and you probably want to challenge him. He's new to the position, all that stuff, but it was pretty dang shallow. And Corey Seager is not Evan Carter on the base paths. Okay. And yeah, he had hustled well there to get to second on the double off of Framber's leg, but I don't think that one would have ended well for the Rangers. So I think Beasley did the right thing there.
Yeah, that was one I wondered about too. As soon as the ball was hit, I thought, okay, Corey scores, and the announcers, Jason Venatti and Eric Karros were kind of saying the same thing. And what runs through my mind is make him make the play, because we know he doesn't have even close to a plus arm out there. But
yeah,
again, your perspective, I appreciate your perspective in the ballpark, because that is a tiny left field. I mean, and I must admit, I'm watching, especially the Diaz home run go out. I'm watching, and I'm thinking, God, I hate those Crawford boxes. and then I watch the Higgy home run go out, and I'm like, I love those Crawford boxes. So, but it's silly. I mean, in some ways, it's just silly that you can hit a pop up, and basically it goes out.
The Dubon homer was the worst one. You know, it would have left 14 ballparks according to Baseball Savant, whereas Higgy's would have left only this one.
Only one. Yeah.
So
all right. So more coming up as we continue to wrap up this tough loss, a different kind of tough loss than many that we have talked about. Let's continue the talk, continue the chat next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we want to remind you about our friends at Monarch Money. These are people that can help you not only manage and track your money, which is so important, but they're here to do much more than that. Monarch Money wants to help you grow your wealth, wants to help you track that money. When you track it properly, all of a sudden you have extra money. And that extra money can be used to grow your wealth and to allow you to do the things in your life that you hope and want to do. I've had lots of conversations with my son here in the last few days about this same kind of thing. It's very important to budget. It's very important to track. And once you track your money, I think you're going to find out that you spend money on some silly things. So it's a matter of just keeping a good eye on it. And Monarch Money is there to help you. So go to monarchmoney.com, use the code DLLS, and you get half a year of their tracking, their helping, their service for free. Monarchmoney.com, code DLLS. Also remind you about Mando. This is the thing, man. It was after so I don't know where you are. We had 2 rain episodes where I am today. And after that first one, man, it was humid. Oh, my goodness. So that's right when you really need Mando. It's Mando's wheelhouse because every pore in your body is sweating, and that means stinking. And so you've got the various products from Mando. There's the starter kit on your screen. You know, I have some of the wipes, too. You can just kind of, refresh off and get all the smell and all the sweat off you with all those Mando products. They have one for everything. They want you to take care of all those areas of your body which can cause odor, including the areas that nobody wants to talk about. But we don't mind talking about the butt crack, the ball sack, and the grundle. We don't. We'll haul off and do that on you. So anyway, Mando.com, $5 off the starter pack if you use the code DLLS. So you talked to you mentioned you talked to Robert Garcia. Did you talk to Jacob deGrom, Jeff? Was he around? Was he available tonight?
Yes, we spoke to him, and he always a stand-up guy, always super hard on himself. He is a guy in his first full year off of Tommy John surgery, gives up 2 runs in 6 innings, and he's like, boy, I needed those pitches back. Really shouldering a lot of the load here for the guys. And, he said he wasn't upset with the pitches he made to Altuve and to Diaz. The Altuve pitch was down, just caught too much of the heart of the plate. And so that was Jacob's issue with that one. And then the one to Diaz, he is just kind of like, because he had thrown him all fastballs and sliders at that point. He throws him a changeup that's in off the plate, and Diaz gets it somehow. So it's hard to look changeup, when you haven't seen one all game. But this is his last start of the first half. He won't be participating in the All-Star game, but for what he's done this year, I think he's exceeded expectations. It was a huge question in spring training and coming into the season. What is Jacob deGrom going to be able to do? We all know the injury history, and we're all a little bit cynical. And weren't sure if Jacob deGrom would make it this far. He's at 112 innings. He's made 19 starts. All right, he hasn't cleared 100 innings since 2019.
Right.
He hasn't cleared 110 since then. And so this is going going forward, it's going to be interesting to see how he's used. But he says he feels great. He expects that the Rangers will, take care of him and try to protect him against himself and protect themselves against the temptation to send this guy out. But he says he's ready to go every fifth day. He wants the ball. And, at some point you got to rip the Band-Aid off. And, 6 innings these days, we've talked about it. We're a little older, but gosh, 6 innings is nothing, from the era of baseball that we watched. John.
No.
And I think Jacob agrees. He was at 90 pitches. I think he would have been just fine getting another one, and then that changes everything with the bullpen.
It does
later in the game. But this is the route they're taking. They're paying him $40 million a year. They've seen how good he can be when he is healthy and on the mound, and what he does for the team. So that's the way they're going to go with it. But again, 19 starts in the first half, 2.32 ERA. Man, I think that this is much more than even the most optimistic person with the Rangers was thinking would happen.
100%. And what did Jacob? We were saying at FanFest we hoped he could get 25 starts. He said 30. We were like, no way. and it looks like he'll shoot. I mean, again, if he continues down this path, he's going over 30.
Yeah, I had under 25. I thought 25 was on the optimistic side. I'd heard 22 to 25. And then we got to spring training, and it kind of became not really starts, but innings, and 170, 175. I mean, he could be there. He could be there by the end of August, really.
Yeah.
Depending on how they do this thing. Now, he's not going to. Rangers haven't announced this, but I'm told that they're going to save deGrom until the 5th game out of the break. So he's going to have a 10-day break here in the middle of his season, where he's not going to have to pitch in games. He's bypassing the All-Star game, and so he's going to be able to get some rest, work on his mechanics, and be good to go at that point. I haven't really taken a deep dive into the off days in the second half, but I'm sure that the Rangers will honor them. Not do anything too crazy with the rotation, at least not until I would have guessed late September, when if they're in this thing and they have to win games, then they'll try to pitch him as much as they can.
Sure, as they did here at the end, right? Today would have been a classic opportunity if things record-wise were a little different, to give deGrom a day, then he takes the break, then he takes 5 days after, and it would have been even a longer break, but they needed him. And he pitched absolutely well enough to win. Absolutely. He did everything you do to give your team a chance to win. And ultimately, the team took advantage of that chance, and then unfortunately lost that chance or that opportunity. But I think, for Jacob to watch him go out there and be, 2 mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Basically. And he's and I get it. He's saying the one to Diaz wasn't even a mistake. It looked like the pitch to Altuve, Jonah was set up outside, and it didn't get outside, it stayed, and that's right in Altuve's hitting zone,
Yeah, well, he's such a little guy,
Yeah, inside and low. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny. He argued about a low strike. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, it's been fun to watch Jacob, and fun to be around him and see how he reacts, and this is a guy who's, whether he ends up in the Hall of Fame or not, will be remembered as one of the best ever. If he isn't in the Hall of Fame, it's because he's been injured, was snake bit, unlucky, but boy, how great was he? And people remember him and talk about him, and to get a chance to see how one of the best goes about it has been pretty interesting and educational, and I'm looking forward to the next 2.5 years. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning, and So anyway, but Jacob wasn't the problem tonight.
No, not at all.
There was some just I want to say bad luck, but it just keeps happening to this team again and again in these close games.
Yeah.
And so, you create your own luck,
Yeah.
John, that's the saying. And there were some things that didn't go, that could have gone the other way with a different decision, or a hitter, doing something just a little bit differently in the box. And again, the Rangers have been really good here lately, doing the little things, hitting with runners in scoring position, hitting with 2 outs. The Simeon homer, the Higashioka homer, 2 out runs. Those are demoralizing and backbreakers. But when you can't get the ball even in play, and I know Framber's really, really good, Josh Hader's really, really good, but when you can't even get the ball in play, when you need to, just hit a ground ball. You can tip the catch and tap to the pitcher if you want, but there are just times you just got to make contact.
Yeah, exactly.
Just touch the ball.
Yeah, and I mentioned this before you came on. Through 8 innings, the bottom 5 hitters, so more than half of the lineup, had 1 hit, 1 guy on base. They did nothing, right? And I get it, to your point. And there's a lot of young guys in the bottom part of that order. I get it, but and Valdez is really good. But gosh, you can't give up 5 of the 9 hitters for 8 innings, and just and by the way, he had 10 strikeouts. 8 of them came from those guys. So they weren't, a lot of them even particularly competitive at bats.
Yeah, and they weren't, and they show up late, like the Duran strikeout to end the 9th. It was not a fair matchup. He was completely overmatched, and a lot of people are against Josh Hader, but there's still guys who are able to. Jonah had a great at bat against Hader. I thought
he did,
and hit that ball hard. And maybe that affected the Higashioka at bat.
I almost tweeted we should give Jonah Heim an assist on the Higashioka home run, because I think it was an 8-pitch at bat, and you say, he hit the ball hard to shortstop. So
I'm telling you, without the pitch clock, you have these long at bats. You can't catch your breath. Anyway. It's just, I obviously was there for all the extra inning games that the Rangers lost on the last homestand. Was not in San Diego, was not at the walk-off on Monday in L.A. But these close games that are going against them, they're just adding up, and it's getting to the point where they just can't have too many more of these. If they really think they're going to make the playoffs. Yeah,
and then the Astros, by the way, tonight improved to 19-8 in 1-run games.
Yeah.
That's what the good teams do. They figure out a way to win. And I mentioned it before you came on, Jeff, the Josh Smith line that we've heard and repeated. Good teams find a way to win these games, and we're not finding a way. And the worst part in this case is it's like the Rangers did find a way, and then they let that just slip through their fingertips. And that was Boch even asked about. You said that. Where did he mention considering not using Garcia in the 11th?
No, just because they were where they were with usage.
The bullpen.
The bullpen. There were 2 guys who were unavailable. They'd already gone through Webb, Jackson, Martin, Garcia. You really don't want to use Caleb Bosley, and so it was Milner, who seems to pitch every day, and then so Garcia, and he wanted it, and maybe he wanted it too bad. I don't know. Maybe that was it. Maybe he was too fired up. But what he did in the 10th gave you a lot of optimism that, hey, he's going to come out here and get the job done. At minimum, the game's going to go to the 12th.
Yeah. Well, all right. We got more to talk about as we wrap this one up. We'll also look forward to the finale of the unofficial first half of the season That one's tomorrow. It's another great pitching matchup. We talk about that and more next as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Yeah, we want to thank Empire Today for hanging around late with us, and really for hanging around with us since our launch on August 26th. Everybody knows by now, leaders in flooring. That's all we have to say. They're the best. They want to make it as easy as possible for you. They want to give you the home field advantage to the point that you schedule a free in-home estimate. The guy or gal comes to your house. They help you pick out the colors, the floors that are right for you, durability levels, all kinds of things, what looks best and what light, the whole 9 yards, stuff that John and I may not know. John probably knows. I have no idea. So they're your guys, and that's all they do. All they do is flooring, carpets, tile, wood, probably linoleum if you wanted it, maybe cement, maybe that brushed cement. Who knows? But I'm going to ask Empire Today. I'll tell you that right now. So anyway, schedule free and in-home estimate, and they'll come and help you out. And if you choose Empire Today, which you will, you'll get $350 off your purchase when you go to empiretoday.com/DLLS. And with that $350, you know what that is? That's gambling money. That's gambling money to take to Las Vegas with True Fan Travel, as they help our Cowboys crew get to Las Vegas in middle November for the game against the Raiders, the Monday night game. It's a 3-night stay. You get the game tickets, you get the VIP parties, you get to hang with Clarence and Jeff and Jesse and the whole crew out there at Mandalay Bay. Not a bad little place. I've stayed there myself. The game is November 17th. The trip is the 15th through the 18th. You don't have to be from DFW to take it. You can take it from whatever city you are listening or watching from. So please avail yourself to this opportunity and book now at truefantravel.com.
Yeah, they'll take care of all of it. And you were talking about Empire Today doing only flooring. Our Cowboys crew, they do only Cowboys.
That's right.
So, yeah, you're hanging out with the right people on a deal like that. So we appreciate that. And Jeff's fancy transition there from the $350 you're getting back, take it straight to Vegas and turn it into $1 million.
That's exactly right.
$350, you'd become $1 million in no time out there. So, all right. So we've got things to talk about regarding, surrounding the team. Jake Berger, I see, pinch hit, and as you say, I wanted somebody to bunt there. I mean, that's the way you execute the inning. That said, Jake was able to do that, which and you tweeted earlier, it looks like he'll play tomorrow. The quad is okay, I guess, then?
Yeah, I thought he was a little gimpy walking off the field after the strikeout, but he says he's going to play. Justin Foskew's here for just in case. I'll tell you what Justin Foskew could do, and this is going to sound cold-blooded and maybe knee-jerky. Justin Foskew could replace Ezekiel Durant. Ezekiel is definitely more versatile, but Justin can play first base. If the Rangers want to get Zeke going, 15 days down there in Round Rock might not hurt him. Kind of reset him. This is a guy who doesn't play every day. He's still a young player. Maybe if he goes down there and gets some everyday at bats with the AAA club, maybe that could help there. So, hey, let's think about it. But I don't know which way that'll go, obviously. But Berger, the plan was before the game, and when we talked to him afterward, is for him to play tomorrow in the finale.
Okay, well, that's good. And then again, obviously, right after that, he gets basically a week off. So, hopefully that'll help him heal completely there. What about the performance last night from John Gray?
Gray's going to go tomorrow. Sborz pitched tonight.
Oh, Sborz tonight. That's right.
Yeah, it was. He didn't finish the inning. He hit his pitch count, gave up 2 hits and a walk. I didn't see anything on the velocity, but it's good that he's going. And as we approach the trade deadline and start to think about all of those things, and keep in mind that Josh Sborz is going to be a pretty handy guy to have if he's able to get his velocity back. That's the only thing that's missing. It sounds like the breaking balls are fine, everything's good. He just needs the velocity to pick up, and really, it's hard to not, you know, it's hard to build the velocity without actually competing in a game. So hopefully tonight he was able to do that, get some velo and get going. But John Gray goes tomorrow, probably looking at 3 innings, 45 pitches, and he could be back maybe before the trade deadline. The Rangers could go ahead and attempt to finish his build up here, which isn't the worst strategy in the world. So we'll see, but he was about he was mid 90s on the velocity, 93 to 95. So that will continue to build too.
And Tyler Mahle, is he back to even throwing yet?
Tyler is not throwing yet. That's going to be a post All-Star break situation for him, and it's going to take a while. That's why they went ahead and put him on the 60-day, because they recognize that he won't be ready before the 60 days are up. So that's another guy to keep an eye on. It's another guy that, hey, if he's that good, it's just another weapon that the Rangers can have. So we'll see how that plays out. The other injured guy is Jock Peterson, and that's looking like early August. Sborz, I found some velocity readings, 90 to 92, so he's still got a little.
Not there yet. Yeah, not there yet. Yeah, and again, tonight's gut punch notwithstanding, the team, has been trending, for a couple of weeks now for sure, in the correct direction. They had the 4 in a row on this road trip where they scored 7 or more in a game. It's the longest streak of scoring 7 or more in 4 straight games since 16. And the last time they did it on the road, Jeff, was 2011. So as much as we've, complained about, rightly, this offense and how it took so long to sort of find its footing, it really does seem like it has. I mean, Fran Burvell does what he did to the Rangers to pretty much everybody.
Yeah, and Hunter Brown's going to do it tomorrow too.
He is, unfortunately.
It's another game where it's going to be 4-3, 3-2, something like that. All right. I think that you're right, though, and the Rangers believe it too. The offense is going again. They're hitting balls out of the ballpark. They're hitting with 2 outs with runners in scoring position. They're beating the pitchers they're supposed to beat. I think that's another thing that is lost on us, because the Rangers were getting beat by guys they have no business losing to. So, Lance McCullers, you've seen what he's done in the past. He had a 5.82 or 83 ERA entering last night. They needed to do what they did to him, and they did it. They didn't need to give him any life. So you can go down the list of guys who they've made look like absolute all-stars. That kind of has ended here. And then, the next step is figuring out the actual all-stars. And maybe tomorrow they'll have something for Hunter Brown. Again, it's looking good at the top of the order, in the middle. And then, it's no pun intended, hit or miss with the bottom of the lineup.
Right. It really is. And so, let's go back to last night's game just a little bit, because I really, obviously you have to like what they did to Lance McCullers Jr. from the get-go. I also really liked what we saw from Jack Leiter, who we know as a rookie basically still is going to be and has been up and down. This was a really good performance. I thought the at bat against Christian Walker in the 5th inning was just a great performance by Jack.
It was, and the important thing was that he adjusted. The first inning was not great, right? It was not great. He was kind of all over the place. He gave credit to Kyle Higashioka for helping steer him in the right way, but the pitcher still has to go out there and make the adjustment, and Jack did. He made a mistake on the 2-run homer, but otherwise it was good. And he did pitch into the 6th, and it's like, oh, hooray, the 6th. But the Rangers had somebody up in the 5th
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
he hadn't struck out Christian Walker there, they would have gone to the bullpen a little bit earlier, and who knows what happens in that scenario. But he didn't lose the lead. He kept his composure after the 2-run homer, and he got his win, first win since May 30th. I know the wins don't count a lot to certain people these days, but it's always nice to get one in your ledger. And so he goes into the All-Star break with some confidence now. And we talked about deGrom and how Jacob's been. This is the first half of the first full major league season for Jack Leiter, and it didn't go well last year. We all saw it. That he had a couple good outings. Was great at AAA, but the big leagues he was not good. He made 16 starts in the first half, 80 innings. Okay, so that could be better. 4.37 ERA. Okay, there were some moments where he was really, really good. That start in Cincinnati, the second outing of the year for him. Unfortunately, had the blister, but he's had some good outings mixed in there too. You see the stuff, the variety of stuff. He used his changeup really well last night, something that he hadn't done a lot.
Yeah.
And he went with the flow. He let Kyle Gaussioka take him there through a lot of sinkers, a lot of changeups, pitches that he hadn't thrown a ton of recently. So, now could the Rangers upgrade there? Well, sure, they could upgrade there with Kumar Rocker, and John Gray, a veteran guy, is going to, I would think, get a chance at the expense of one of these young guys. And that's not a bad thing. Okay,
Nope.
The Rangers need some starter depth, and maybe the odd man out ends up in the bullpen. I don't know what they're going to do, but Jack has been all right, and I think he's also beaten expectations.
Yeah, and it was a game last night. Again, and we've talked about this before. We never mentioned it prior to the game, but when you looked at it after, especially, they really needed to win last night's game because as good as Jacob deGrom is, as good as Nathan Eovaldi is, you also know what's coming back at you in Valdez and Hunter Brown, who that's an all-star.
Yeah, and so you win the game. The Rangers aren't throwing you and me, John. They threw Jacob deGrom.
That's exactly right.
Nathan Eovaldi. So they're going to have a chance. They're going to be in the game, and just again, it's figuring out something, doing the little things that teams do to win ball games when they have a chance. So I think they have a chance to win the series. It's a big deal. Move a little bit closer. That's a big deal. I know there are some people in the comments talking about below 500 teams not making the postseason and things like that. And the Rangers have had 7 chances to get to 500, and have not won one of them. But as Bruce Bochy said afterward, we're not trying to get to 500. We're trying to get well past 500. So I don't think I think that's just a coincidence and not something that's weighing on the team at all. However, it is strange that they haven't been able to do it. And maybe that's the barrier. Maybe they break through. Maybe they get a game or two over and take off. I don't know. I don't suspect it. Weirder things have happened. Seen teams do it. The Braves just a few years ago. I think let me backtrack. Maybe the 22 Braves were a team that was just kind of languishing and kind of behind the Mets, not really.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they pulled away and won the division by like 8 or 9 games. It's not impossible to do. It just really looks impossible at this point.
Yeah, it does. We've talked about the Tigers last year, right? They were selling at the end of July. They were floundering in August, and then early August, and all of a sudden they turned it around and won 30 of 36 or something ridiculous. And next thing you know, they were a team that was winning a playoff series right there in Houston.
Yeah, that's we talked about it. I think on our last show. That's the way baseball goes. So sometimes these seasons are so long, you never know what you're going to get. And the Rangers could, they might have a 40-20 in them again. And if we're being perfectly honest, it might take something like that.
Sure.
Depending on where where things end up on the wild card standings. I think 90 wins would more than do it. I don't think they have to get to 90, but they need to be north of, let's say, 85.
Yeah.
And so, that's not a lot of margin for error. So, but we've seen it not just with the examples I've cited, 23 club, the run they got on the postseason. It can happen at any time.
Yeah, it can. All right, we got more to talk about. We're going to get you set for tomorrow's game. It's the finale of this big series against the Astros, and of course, it's the finale of the first half of the season. It's the last one before the All-Star break. We talk about it next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we want you to become a diehard. It's such a big part of what can be so good for you, right? This isn't for us. It's more for you, than it is for us. Although we'd like it because it does pad the coffers of our parent company. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But man, you get so much content. You get so many opportunities. Everything that's good comes from being a diehard. So you spend $80 almost, and you get this great content from behind the paywall, and you get 20% off of our events and 20% off of our merchandise, and we're bolstering what our diehards get, and you'll be hearing about that soon. But trust me, it's worth it for you to do that now. Our company is really getting focused on making the diehard name and the diehard brand even bigger and better for you. So become a diehard today. Just go to alldlls.com/join, and you can become a diehard, and I promise you won't regret it.
Well, I'm assuming, John, we're going to keep the free shirt in there.
Absolutely. We are.
Yeah, and so you will go to store.allcitynetwork.com once you become a diehard, because that's where you're going to pick out your free shirt. You get a free shirt for this $80 diehard subscription. And you've seen John and I wear them. The other hosts of the other show have shirts that represent the team they cover, and I've even worn shirts of teams I don't cover. So they're great shirts, great items, affordable, and again, hats are coming. I don't know when they're coming, but the first day they come, I may fly to the factory and get them. That's how badly I want the hats. All right, and they're going to look good, and I can wear those all the time. We go to the ballpark, John, and we would like to wear a collared shirt.
Yeah.
But I always wear a hat, so I can wear a hat and a collared shirt and represent the brand that way. I got some grief today from Jacob DeGrom because I wore shorts. He asked me what I'm doing wearing shorts on the road, so I guess I got to clean that up. But
oh wow, yeah.
I told him I'm not a player. He's like, doesn't matter. You got to wear pants. So got to work on that.
Yeah, I remember
need some DLS pants.
Yeah, right. I remember getting put in the box by somebody back in the day. It might have been back as far as Chris Davis. And I got put in the box for wearing shorts on the road. I'm like, I'm going to work out. What do we? I gotta wear long pants. But anyway, we'll do what we can to abide by those rules when we need to.
That's right.
Hence the collared shirts.
Correct.
But so tomorrow's game, big. It'd be so nice to win this series. If you win the series, Jeff, you go out of this last, probably month or more of the season feeling pretty good, feeling like things are totally headed in the right direction. One loss shouldn't change that feeling, but I think it would be so much better to get the victory tomorrow. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. We know what a bulldog he is, and it just seems like just as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and deGrom Adolis Garcia does what he can to beat the Astros, Nathan Eovaldi gets out there in big game situations and he rocks.
He does, and I think that's how he's going to treat this one, and. I'm sure he treats them all like that, but there is a postseason Nathan Eovaldi, and the atmosphere here in the games have been sellouts. A good chunk of Rangers fans. It's kind of felt postseason-y, and so maybe he can harness that and take it into start tomorrow. But I guess the big question is how many innings is he going to throw? I'd suspect he could go 7 or 8. I think that the reins are off, especially knowing that he's getting at least 4 days off. Well, I know I'm fairly certain that he's not starting the second half opener. I think Patrick Corbin's going to get that one. So I think maybe you get a Valdi against the Tigers there, but he's going to get some time off. So he could maybe be extended a little bit here tomorrow, especially with the situation with the bullpen, because Chris Martin's not going to be available, Garcia's not going to be available. I would be surprised if Milner's available. Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so you're probably looking at Sean Armstrong closing out the game tomorrow, which is fine. Jake Latz might be available tomorrow, but the point is, the more Nate the Great can give them, the better off they're going to be.
And Hunter Brown, I'm pretty sure he made his major league debut against the Rangers, and it was a really good one. And he pretty much hasn't, faltered since. This young man, has just become, again, he's become an all-star. Yeah,
a real nice development for the Astros with the pitching injuries that they've had and are dealing with, and so they get this gift from God. This guy's an all-star. He's been fantastic. Yeah. He's always had the stuff, and like young pitchers, you have to figure it out. Throws hard, so that's a problem for the Rangers. They always seem to have trouble with the heater, but maybe that's changing. Maybe they're changing approach, shortening their swing, doing things like that. Maybe that's going to aid them tomorrow. But should be a tight game. Got to play clean defensively. Can't miss chances on offense, and it would be nice for them to leave here with a W.
Yeah, and speaking of that defense, through it all, again, we say the first half of the season, it is over tomorrow. It's actually way more than the half, but anyway, through however many we've played at this point, the Rangers have the best defense in baseball. They've made the fewest errors in baseball. Another error-free effort tonight. I mean, the run saved stat is the best in baseball. They really have played beyond great defense.
They have, and it came up the other night because when Berger made the error, and they had the two little boneheaded mistakes. Somebody said, this team's defense drives me crazy. Like, well, I don't know that you've watched the game enough. Enough games because they've been really, really outstanding on defense. And it's not so much that they make tons of great sliding plays, which they do, or diving plays. Adolis had one tonight. Yeah. They make the routine play. If the ball is hit to a Rangers player, they're not going to mess it up. 9 times out of 10. Probably 9.5 times out of 10. They're not going to mess it up. And, how valuable is that when a pitcher knows that he gets a ground ball hit to the second baseman, it's going to be an out. You got to have those. That's what makes winning teams. It fueled the Rangers in 2023 when they had the best defense in the American League. So that's been good. The base running, they've been opportunistic and at times aggressive on the bases, having pretty good success rate on steals. Wyatt Langford's fabulous. I'd like to see Marcus Semien run a little bit more. He seems to have a pretty good success rate, especially if the guys behind him aren't going to hit, and you need to manufacture a run that way maybe. And again, like we've said, the offense has been better. And it goes all the way back, not just this week, but it goes back to June 24th. Only one team in the major leagues is averaging more runs per game than the Rangers. It's the Red Sox. And what did they won 8 or 9 in a row? Yeah. So I mean that tells you how good the Rangers are going offensively. The bullpen's the problem. I think the biggest problem with the team because of the fatigue factor. And there are some comments that aren't wrong in the chat that they don't have a true strikeout guy. Right. Last year they had strike. I guess the difference between this year's bullpen and last year's, they had guys last year who struck a lot of guys out, but they walked too many guys. This year's bullpen, tonight notwithstanding, doesn't walk a lot of guys. They get the ball put in play and generate some weak contact. On the downside, though, it's really hard for them to get a strikeout when they need one. So that would be, I would think, item number one on the trade deadline list if Chris Young decides to go ahead and dive in. You know, a big power arm, maybe even a closer who can get the job done.
Yeah.
And go get you a strikeout when you need a strikeout.
Yeah, and we've talked about that literally since the beginning of the year. I remember just saying after the first few games, and we still weren't exactly sure who the closer would end up being. At that point, it was Luke Jackson. But I remember saying, you know, Jackson's not that guy who can go just automatically get that strikeout. Chris Martin's not that guy, right? Love both of them, especially really both of them have so much experience that they don't get flustered. And that's, you know, that's the greatest attribute for a high leverage late inning guy. But to your point, they don't have that on the roster right now. And I've seen people in the chat, you know, not necessarily at today, but over the last week or so, just, you know, pining away, you know, for last year, you know, with Robertson and Yates. And look, they ain't coming around the corner. So
no,
that's not happening. So, you know, but if there's somebody out there that can help, I believe, and if Chris Young really believes that the team is headed, you know, in that right direction, they'll do it.
Yeah. And I wrote this the other day. I think they need a left-handed bat.
Agreed.
Whether that's Peterson, you know, he can't be as bad as he was, but how much better is he going to be? And then again, and I'm not so sure a more veteran starter wouldn't hurt at all. And you could look at it if this guy is controllable as a move for 2026 and beyond, because you are going to have some rotation holes to plug next spring.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's, you know, someone stopped me today. All right, what are they going to do at the deadline? And I'm like, as of today, this morning, I was like, if it was right now, I'd say they're buyers, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, after tonight's loss, maybe you're not quite as confident about that. But after last night, I'm like, as of right now, I would say, you know, one game under 500, playing well for, you know, since June 24th for sure, and even before that, you know, they're definitely more inclined to buy than to sell. I think under any circumstances, it's probably buy or not do much.
Yeah, and you know, it could be a combination of both, depending on, you know, how creative you have to get with salaries and stuff. But I just think Chris Young is too stubborn. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think that he really believes in these guys. I think he believes in himself and what he's put together. And I don't think he wants to throw in the towel. He's so competitive. So, but they also have their hands full. I want to mention this before we get out of here. The draft is tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
It starts at what, 4:30 or 5:30? I don't know. Rangers are going to pick around 6 o'clock with the 12th overall pick. I wrote a story on it, so if you're diehard, you can go check that out. They may not be able to draft a college player this year, or they may have, you know, the best player at 12 may be a prep player, something they haven't done since 2018 with Cole Winn. So that'll be something to watch tomorrow. And I know Kat's listening. We had talked about the draft being a 3-day draft, which has been pretty much every year since I've been covering the team. It's only 2 days this year. So it'll be over one day. They're going to go kind of a marathon session there and go rounds 3 through 20 and get her done. And so we'll have a lot to talk about. Maybe during the show Monday, you know, we should have a few picks.
Sure.
You know, a few of the picks that the Rangers have selected, and then we'll be able to break down the class a little bit more on Tuesday, and maybe even have some signings by Tuesday.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Good intel, and something to keep an eye on tomorrow. We're on again tomorrow with a post game. We're glad to do these. Tomorrow, of course, it's a 1 o'clock, 1:10 start. So we figure we're going to be on sometime around 4:15. And we hope that you will join us again tomorrow. A little earlier edition of the DLLS Rangers Postgame Podcast. We'll see you then.